Hello, I'm Anna Chapman Parker. I'm an artist and writer living in Berwick-upon-Tweed, and I'm delighted to be curating this series of 6 workshops called The Present Page on behalf of Berwick Literary Festival. So the course is called The Present Page, and it's a course of 6 creative workshops which you can either do individually, so you could cherry pick ones that you're particularly interested in, or you can do all 6 as a kind of course. And what we've done is we've taken the core idea of journaling as an everyday creative practice that anyone can do anywhere, anytime, more or less, and looked at what journaling could mean in different contexts. So starting with journaling in the sense of writing, then moving into drawing, then looking at the idea of the book as a space for creativity and making a book to work in, then the body and storytelling, the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads, and finally listening as a creative practice. And you can do all 6 in any order. There's no need to do them kind of in a particular order. So journaling has been really important to me in a couple of different ways. I've always kept a sketchbook. My background is in art and I trained at art school, but even before that, always kept a sketchbook. And not just for drawing or visual work, but also for note-taking or observations in text form, keeping track of ideas and things like that. And that's something that I still do, and I find it's a really useful place to work, which feels a bit like, Virginia Woolf talked about having a room of one's own. If you to maintain your sort of creative practice, even in times when maybe you don't have, or many of us will never have our own kind of workspace or a private studio. A sketchbook offers that, a kind of proxy for that. So it's somewhere you can always access and carry with you and work in and have that kind of sense of a private creative space. And then a second way in which I guess journaling has been really significant for me is that I started to write a book by making a journal about a particular interest. So I became really interested in common wild plants or weeds, and I started to track the emergence and flowering and disappearance of these plants within my local neighbourhood over the course of a year. And I began that through drawing, which is obviously a brilliant way of looking at something over in a sustained way. And I started making notes in the corners of the drawings. And so it was really those sketchbooks, a series of sketchbooks, which then gradually evolved into a book, which I published in 2025 under Story. So my workshop is probably good to do actually as the first one in the series, although you don't need to. But it includes an introduction to journaling, and the workshop is really in 2 parts. So the first part is about what forms can journaling take? What might you want? How might you want to explore journaling? And we look at some different approaches to journaling. And then also some of the motivations and the benefits to journaling, some of which will be obvious to a lot of us, but some of which are a little bit more perhaps surprising. And then we'll also try 2 different kinds of journaling. One of them is called the Got Done list, and another one is using a creative writing prompt. And we'll talk a little bit about the use of prompts in journaling and creative writing in general. The second part of the workshop is about getting a little bit looser and a bit weirder. We'll look at how the physical act of handwriting can lead into drawing. And we'll try 2 different activities which sit somewhere between legible writing and abstract mark making or abstract drawing. Also included are some activities that will help think about how to create a regular journaling practice. So there are tips and suggestions for that. further reading and references to a selection of artists' work, both from the early 20th century right through to the present day. So lots of inspiration, I hope. So a core aim for me in developing this course, and I think for all the facilitators, all the people leading the workshops, is thinking about the benefits of even a small amount of creativity in our everyday. So everyone's really busy. We're all beset by lots of competing demands and distractions, not least from our smartphones. But we can all probably carve out a few minutes of space for ourselves, whether that's within the pages of a book, a journal, or through an activity as we're going about our day. So in the listening workshop, Martin will introduce active listening activities that could be done on your commute, for example. Or there are other activities that you could do while you're waiting for something. Some of the drawing and mindfulness activities would work really well in that way. There are activities involving awareness of your body, which obviously we've always got with us. So it's really about not giving sort of separate creative with a capital C activities that you need to set aside an afternoon for, but really offering little tools and strategies and activities that can be folded into a busy everyday sort of routine.